Nubia. As is my habit, I like to explain these diagrams before I take it down, in this case in a video format, so that you can have a more comprehensive understanding of the entire energy, data center, energy, water generation, the entirety of the entire cycle of what is necessary to make a data center work, from the power stations, which there are not enough of them right now, to the transmission system, which there's not enough of them right now, to the equipment necessary to do HVAC and the different chemicals and toxins that are required to deal with that. And then, of course, the input beyond fuel, coal and oil and nuclear, and of course the consumption of water as well. See, every power station, because it's a thermal energy power plant, has to boil water and cool water, and that takes a tremendous amount of energy, okay? And even though 100% of the energy goes out, twice that goes to the atmosphere as heat. That is antimatter. When we talk about heat in any form, whether it be seismic movement through the crust of the earth, all the way up to microwaves and light, that is heat. That is antimatter. Antimatter that can transmit through and transverse through matter and mass. And all mass and matter contains heat or antimatter or some intermix, okay? It's how the earth works. The earth is the greatest heat engine system we've ever known. But what we have done in power stations, transmissions, even before this, is to run up so much heat energy into the atmosphere that it has destabilized the weather of the world. So what is necessary is a black box of heat, a black hole of heat, very similar to what you would do if you had a microwave oven and you put a cup of coffee in there, you turn it on, and you can take a look through that screen mesh. If for some reason your eyes don't get melted from the microwaves that's in there, because this particular generator system that will replace the conventional data system, which requires power, fuel, perpetual maintenance, personnel, a small modular reactor processor conduction force generator, has no moving parts, no mechanical means, and it negates the need to have power stations. So, if you put one of these things in, you're not going to need a power station. If you're not going to need a power station, you don't have all the fuel and personnel expenses and that sort of thing. Because see, 90% of what's necessary, or what's being dealt with out there right now, is because of this enormous amount of external pressure that's not necessary, because power stations that are configured in this way, and they are configured on the surface of the earth, are having to have tremendous amount of input from the infrastructure to make them run. This includes the transmission infrastructure. Okay. And requires, and as well as all of the excess manufacturing and that sort of thing that you require when you go in and build equipment. You have to come in and misshape the earth and compromise power supplies, water supplies, excuse me, which is also a power supply, by the way. This eliminates the need for this, okay? If you just knew how to use and shunt antimatter to ground the right way. Okay. When you take a power station, a data center, and you take it from above the surface of the world and in the configuration that they're made now in these big huge towers and that sort of thing, and you shunt them into earth ground using a thermal energy shield. That thermal energy shield requiring no HVAC, no water. Is able to take the full power of whatever you put into here, and that heat will never leave the facility. It will be shunted to ground. Going forward, the small modular reactor processor conduction force generator shall therefore be known as the machine. Okay, it's a free fuel energy power supply, both kinetic and other energies you can produce from kinetic energy, and a water generator by nothing but convection force. It's the second law of thermodynamics, warm air rising, and the condensation of atmosphere that moves through the system. Just like you being able to look at a cup of coffee as a microwave is running and putting a tremendous amount of heat energy into that cup of coffee, the radiation that's causing the vibration of molecules within the water is not leaving that shielded area and coming out and harming you. And this is effectively what a conduction force energy generator does in this configuration. There are hundreds of configurations, okay? But in this particular configuration, it takes the data center off the grid as if it were never there. And if this amount of capacity, let's say this was 400 to, let's say 1,000 megawatts, one of these monster systems, okay? You take 1,000 megawatt system that's using not only electricity, but water in the community, and you take it from that old rectangular configuration to this conduction force generation within this thermal energy net, okay? It's basically a shield that neutralizes heat and shunts it to ground. You automatically don't have to build a 1,000 megawatt power station. Once you take what's existing off the grid and reconfigure it this way, you continue to do that. And then all of the plans for building power stations that were up here, okay, especially the small modular nuclear reactors within residential areas, think about that. You don't have to build that, or combustion turbine plants that put out toxins. You don't have to build that. All you have to do is reconfigure where data centers are now and take the equipment and bring it into the cities or into the subterranean, and then reconfigure the shells into affordable housing for our most vulnerable citizens, of the old, the poor, the youth. Now, this is a brand new industry. No one who configures a data center in this format, okay, can ever fail when it comes to being competitive against the ones produced there. Because see, all that stuff goes into, it's not just power saved, it's not just water saved, it's infrastructure saved. Infrastructure repurposed. the whole transmission system eventually will not, and the power generation, central core power generation, will not be required, because even a conduction force generator that's set to do this, which is neutralize heat, can be turned into a power generator and a water producer at the same time. You have a new industry, all because, quite frankly, there was nobody qualified in the Richmond, Virginia area, or within the federal or the state government or local government, that was capable of saving my mother's life, nor saving the lives of their citizens. Empathy allows you to see through time and vision what is necessary. And in this case, back in 2008, 2009, during the Obama administration, the Green Technology Acceleration Program asked us to resolve those huge problems of energy, capital destabilization, war. This is a Power Stations for Peace system. A Power Stations for Peace. To conclude, Project 3030 gives you the means and methods necessary to apply process so that maintenance, procedures, math, and physics are put to play for some of the most consequential problems of the world. In this case, data center proliferation, power supplies, and having to cool the planet. We're utilizing power systems for peace. But this all had its origins 12 years ago at what we call Project Glide Slope. When an aircraft is in trouble, what you do, you plot a glide slope for it and bring it down to the ground safely. In this case, the infrastructure of man-made architecture and its processes of managing energy have put the earth on fire. So what we've done, we have over the last 12 years put in a means and a method for you to depressurize the earth and bring the heat that's in the atmosphere to ground and restabilize the earth so that the machine can terraform and give you conduction force energy with no moving parts, no mechanical means, no byproduct, nothing but terrestrial resonance, the restoration of the weather